Today we are taking a look at the She-Hulk fighter from the Unmatched games. Now She-Hulk is from the Marvel Brains and Brawn set along with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. She-Hulk is Jennifer Walters, a lawyer out of Los Angeles, who ended up getting some of her relative Bruce Banner's blood mixed up with hers, and it ended up giving her Hulk powers, but instead of being a big, giant, green, angry Hulk thing that she couldn't control, she kind of turns into a big, giant, but really sexy green woman. And we'll take a look at She-Hulk here. Really like She-Hulk's card here. This card back is great. All the little stuff in here. Lots and lots of little legal references in here all through She-Hulk. We kind of end up getting the legal references in She-Hulk that we didn't get with Daredevil, because Daredevil is also a lawyer. But She-Hulk, everyone knows that Jennifer is She-Hulk, so she kind of actually... So she actually practices law as She-Hulk, whereas Matt Murdock kind of keeps his identity secret. People don't know that Matt is Daredevil. So it makes a little bit more sense to have all of the legal things here. All right, well, let's take a look at her card here. She-Hulk, a melee fighter with a health of 20. 20? 20, 20, 20. Is really there at 20. Yeah, so 20 is the highest health that an individual fighter that's not a large fighter has. 20 is a lot. And she has some healing in her deck, so she has a lot of health. She is big and beefy. Green, gorgeous, gamma-powered bombshell. That's what people think about her. Just throw something. Look, she's throwing something. I like that it's a big column that she's throwing, because that's a very legal thing. It's kind of awesome. At the start of your turn, you may discard a card to deal damage equal to its boost value to a fighter in your zone. So you can just discard a card at the start of your turn, deal damage to somebody. Alright, well, let's take a look at what's going on in here. Savage She-Hulk, an attack of 3, 2 copies. During combat, you may spend an additional action to make this card's value a 9 instead. What does that mean? Well, it means that as long as this is not the last action of your turn, She-Hulk can go ahead and spend that other one to make this a 9. Big numbers coming at you. Oh man, you can't defend well against a 9. That is going to hurt. So yeah, if you're going to end up starting your turn adjacent to She-Hulk, you better have like a feint or like a bewilderment or something they can ignore. Something that can soak up a lot of damage there, because 9, Omega level threat, 2 copies. If you dealt 2 or more damage, your opponent discards 2 random cards. Well, this is a 5. And 5s quite often can deal 2 or more damage, because a lot of defenses are only like 3s and stuff. So there's a good chance of this going off. And if you're playing against someone like Robin Hood, who can't defend for more than 3, I mean, as long as it's not a feint, you're really pulling that off there. So, oof. Sensational. Attack of 4. If you win the combat, you may choose a card from your discard pile and shuffle it into your deck. That's 1 card you get to pull out of your discard pile and put back in there. You can keep cycling, Sensational back in there. Or you could go for something really crazy like Savage She-Hulk or a Mega Level or something else that we haven't shown yet. But you gotta win. It's a 4. You can lose the 4s pretty easily or have it canceled, so that's a thing. Lady Justice, 3 copies. This is my favorite artwork out of this whole entire box. Defense of 0. Defense of 0. Ooh, well, hold on. Discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Increase the value of this card by twice that card's boost value. So you're just hoping you get something good here when they come throw a thing at you, because this can be good or it can be crap, you know. Against some fighters like Alice or Buffy, you stand a pretty good chance of doing pretty well, and you're discarding one of their cards. If you're playing against Sinbad, that could be pretty terrible. The defense rests. I think this is the only card in here that actually shows Jennifer in like her regular human form in it. After combat, draw cards equal to the amount of combat damage you took. Well, this is only a 2, so you could take a lot of combat damage. You could end up drawing a lot of cards. If they throw something stupid at you, you can draw more cards than you really want to draw. Green energy. This is a versatile of 4. If you win the combat, deal 1 damage to each a fighter adjacent to She-Hulk. So it's basically like a really crazy Wily fighting. Pow! We can deal with that. Nerve Cluster Strike. 3 copies. Immediately. If She-Hulk is adjacent to the opposing fighter may not leave their space this turn. So it's an immediately, so this will kick in before any chance that they get to move. Outside of a few little things, if this is used as an attack. Additionally, this does let She-Hulk move. The opposing fighter cannot leave the space, though. You do have to be careful about something like Rending Shot or something that could end up moving She-Hulk away, because they could still move you. This is not like Terrifying Roar where no fighters can go. It's just specifically the opposing fighter, and that's if She-Hulk starts adjacent. Legalese! 3 copies. This is a versatile of 2. If you won the combat, your opponent chooses whether you both draw a card or both discard a card. If you lost the combat, you make the choice instead. Well, the 2, there's not a lot of times that you're going to lose that, where they're not just straight up canceling the effects, but there are some cards out there that could do that. Your opponent gets to choose. Now they're kind of choosing, if you're both drawing or both discarding, it's going to depend on where your opponent's at. So think about that when you play that card. Cease and Desist. 3 copies. Versatile of 1. Immediately, cancel all effects on your opponent's card. During combat, if you're attacking, the value of this card is 4 instead. I really, really like this card, guys, because it's like, on defense, it's a feint. It's a feint that's going to hurt a lot, because it's canceling effects, but it's only a 1, so you're soaking up a lot of damage on that. But if you're attacking, it's a 4, so you get to cancel their effects and have it be a 4, which is pretty good. It's just a really interesting card. Getting into some of the schemes here. Jennifer Walters Esquire. Place She-Hulk in a starting space. Draw 1 card. Gain 1 action. Now we clarified that the starting space is going to be any of these spaces that have the number on it. It does not matter if someone started on that space in this game. So in the case of something like a 2v2 on a 4-player map, you could go to spaces 3 or 4. Doesn't matter if anyone started on it or not. That is a way that she could potentially activate Savage She-Hulk when she didn't start adjacent, because she can end up potentially adjacent to you if the opponent is adjacent to a starting space. So something to think about. And also, if you're on a starting space, you would have to move to a different starting space. You can't stay on the same one. This draws a card and gains an action, so that is not a pass. Leap Toward, 2 more copies. Move She-Hulk up to 4 spaces. She may move through opposing fighters. Then if she is adjacent to the opposing fighter, gain an action. So she can move quite a ways and gain an action. That's another way to be able to activate Savage She-Hulk when you're not adjacent. Since it gains an action. Once again, not a pass because it gains an action. Double Jeopardy. Draw 2 cards and recover 2 health. So this gives you 2 health, which means she has an additional 4, so she could be up to 24 health. She does draw 2 cards on it there, and since she's drawing 2 cards, that ends up kind of negating the health gain as far as exhaustion goes. So She-Hulk really doesn't have any passes. So what cards here do you have that you could use with Just Throw Something? Well, the only 3 boost you have is Savage She-Hulk, and you really don't want to be using that. I mean, unless this ends the game, you really don't want to be throwing that out there. As far as the 2s, you have Double Jeopardy, which is your only healing. That does have some draw in it, so I could see using that. Cease and Desist, that's your only canceling. You may really want that. Defense Rest has a bunch of card draw. There's a lower defense. That's one I could see you using. Lady Justice has like the discard in it. You really want to hang on to that. Omega level threat. I mean, it's an attack of 5 with some potential damage in it. Maybe you use that one. Sensational lets you recur things. So that's another one that you might want. You got some ones here like Legalese and stuff that you could use. But you got to remember, anytime you use that ability, you're just throwing a card away. And that's going to like push you into exhaustion because it's not taking up an action to do it. So you're losing a card out of your hand. And you're not even using up an action. So that can push you into exhaustion. But you do have a lot of health there. And some potential healing to be able to deal with that. And you may find yourself in a situation that something like the Defense Rest may have made you draw more cards than you really anticipated. In that case, you may need to go ahead and if you know you're going to be discarding cards at the end of your turn anyway because you're starting your next turn with too many in hand, maybe you just go ahead and just throw something to go ahead and get some damage with it if you know you're going to be doing away with it. There's not a lot of them there that you really want to throw that have like big values on them. So Just Throw Something is not getting you lots of damage in there. It's just going to be little bits at points. It could be an end game situation, you know, where you could throw She-Hulk or something with a 2. But most of the time, you're not going to be doing that a whole lot, I think. Especially since it costs you a card. It's just a lot that it's costing you to do it. So I think you will need to be fairly aggressive with her because people will be able to out-exhaust you other than you starting with a lot of health. That 20 is a lot of health. But anyway, that is a look at She-Hulk. If you found this video interesting, you can give it a thumbs up and a like. You can go down into the comments section and leave comments down there and let us know what you think of the video. And if you're interested, you can subscribe to my channel so you can see all the videos I post so you don't miss anything. I'm Poindexter G, and we'll see you around next time.